What's up, everybody? I'm back with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today, my guest name is MaClay. He is a coffee extraordinaire from Oklahoma City who's started Flower and Flower, revamped multiple coffee shops, and now about to open up probably one of the most unique coffee shops coming to our area in the Asian district. It'll be called HQ. Matt is a wonderful person. We got to dive deep into his story, mental health, the importance of wanting to give back, and also the importance of pouring into people and really trying to build them up and getting the best versions of yourself and everyone around you. This conversation was full of laughs and great conversation. I really appreciated his time. I think you all will get a lot out of this episode. And keep your eyes out for when HQ opens, and make sure to take a look in the Asian district and get some of the best coffee around. I'm really looking forward to you all listening, and as always, keep going. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you being on, man.
Stoked.
It's funny because, like you said, when I walked in today, you're like, finally. And when I was first starting the podcast in June, you were one of the first. I probably texted like 20 people right when I started. And I was like, hey, do you want to be on this? Do you want to be on this?
Yeah.
And you're like, I kind of do, but I don't know. And then I went to schedule it, and we had a scheduling mix up. I think I had to change it. And then when we talked about it now, it was just so much more, I think, organic.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't meant to be like right in the beginning,
yeah.
But I think it's crazy how the universe works with that. Because even when I walked in, you're mentioning, oh, yeah, I know you know my cousin. And then we said, oh, I know you know this guy that goes to your gym. And just all these connections. And it all started from just enjoying, your coffee.
Yeah.
So it's wild how it works. I think that's been the biggest benefit from doing this, is having some really cool intentional conversations.
For sure.
But we can talk about a ton of stuff. I do want to start with how we met.
Yeah.
So I would like to dive into like how you got into coffee and how Flower and Flower started.
Yeah, for sure.
I still think it was one of the best places around.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
We miss it for sure. So I didn't like coffee wasn't something like I've been doing for like a long time. Basically, whenever I graduated high school, I became a youth pastor. So I was a youth pastor for about 9-10 years here in Oklahoma and Hawaii as well.
Right out of high school?
Yeah. So I was a middle school pastor. So just crazy. And so like all my students were from the east side. And so like all my kids, I was just like tall, lanky white dude with like all the Douglas and Star Spencer kids. They were just like running wild on me. It was
and
so
you're only
great.
6 years older than them or something.
Yeah. So like I was just as crazy and wild as they were. And like we would just have these like gnarly like dance parties like in the middle of worship and stuff. And then like all the older people would come down and get all upset with us. And it was a good time though. So I started there, and I guess I can kind of say what led to that is when I was in high school, like had a drug problem and went to, again, like I told you, went to rehab for about a year in Atlanta, Georgia. And while I was there, I just like felt this like deep feeling or like calling, you can say, that like I wanted to like help and like love on young people, just like people have like helped and loved on me. And so that's kind of where like the want to become a youth pastor began. And so it was born out of like wanting to love on people ultimately, not even just young people, but people in general.
Well, it's cool that you had that feeling, because I would say, and not from my own experience, but from friends and people I've seen on TV or something, it's not always the best reception from rehab facilities. So being a young man and then getting sent to another state.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine like at first that would seem like way too much to handle. But the fact that you got benefits from it. Yeah. It's kind of a testament to how that stuff can really help.
Yeah. Well, again, like I think I was ready. Maybe it's too TMI, but I had a friend who was really close. I grew up skateboarding, and I love to film and like edit videos and stuff like that.
You were before the curve.
Yeah,
Yeah, editing.
No, for sure, for sure. My stuff's still on YouTube. Actually, I should show you.
Yeah,
later.
you should.
But I love that, and I had a friend out of Tulsa who was like getting pretty big in that world, and he was also just involved in like the drug world and stuff like that too. He ended up getting some trouble and getting shot like 4 times back of the head, execution style, over drugs and money. And I went to his funeral, him and my mom. My mom was close friends with his mom as well. He was probably like 5 years older than me.
Oh, man.
But I'll honestly, and again, sorry if this is too much, but
No,
like,
it's not at all.
I remember being there in the heaviest midst of my drug addiction, and they had an open casket, and they reconstructed his face for that, which I don't know why. But I'll never forget looking and knowing that that's exactly where I was about to end up if I didn't change what I was doing. And my mom had the same exact like notion as well. So immediately she started trying to find a place to send me, because she knew kind of what I was into, but she didn't know the depths of it all.
And you were on board with her? You're like, yeah.
Not at first.
Okay.
At first, when she actually was like, "You're going to rehab," I found a place. I ran away for quite a while. And then
What's running away look like? Like packing a bag and staying with friends, or?
basically,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just backpacking.
basically just cruising for a couple weeks. And then I personally came to the decision of like, okay, I don't want to end up like that. And I think I'm down to try changing. And so again, went away for a year. So like, it's crazy. Like first month, no communication at all with anybody. And I was 16 at the time. So I wasn't an adult. I was just a dumb little kid. And so I really, really had to like make the decision. Like, I do want to change. I do want to be here. I do want to work the program and like deal with like these deep rooted issues that actually caused my addiction, instead of just being like, oh, well, I just need to stop doing drugs. Like I had to actually deal with like the root issue.
Well, I think that's probably the only way to really have change in any type of therapy, counseling, whatever. You have to figure out why, not to convince yourself, but to like maybe have a light bulb moment. Yeah. Because we were talking before and I was like, yeah, sometimes I'll overreact or get defensive or these things. And if I don't take a step back and realize why, you're like, oh, it's just what I do. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But it is a huge deal because it can spiral into that. Yeah. Or drinking or selling drugs or just so much stuff. And something I did want to say is because I had a pivotal moment. I was about 21 and I had a best friend that was killed. And I saw his face after, and his name was Nick Williams. And they didn't have to reconstruct much because it wasn't in the head, but just having to blow him up. Dude. Like, he was a slim guy. He was kind of like your build. Yeah. And then his face was huge. And it like scarred me to see it. But it's like, as young men, your boys are like everything. Yeah. Like, I know girls have best friends too, but I've got some of the same friends I've had since 3rd grade. Yeah. Like, they're your heart and soul when you're dealing with all of that trauma throughout your life. And when we lost him, it's like all of us changed. Some for the better, some took a different direction, but like, I'm glad that for us, it was like a pivotal change, because that's what they would want. Yeah, for sure. So it's crazy to have that similarity. Yeah, it's, it was quite the season of life. Again, it's like, when I was younger, I never would have thought when I was 16 years old, I would be dealing with all that and find myself in that place in life. But now I'm 31 and I've got 2 kids. I've got an incredible wife. I've done a lot of cool things, I feel like. And it comes from being you. That's the crazy part to me, is like when I took a step back and wanted to just be positive and just do cool things, more of that happened. Yeah, like, for sure. With the facility, that first month, no contact, were you dealing with like not only mental, but were you dealing with like body issues too? Like, was there a withdrawal syndrome? There was, like, I was more of I love psychedelics, always smoked weed, did a lot of ecstasy. So like those were like my main go-tos. I would shoot up here and there, shoot up some coke, and I had some friends who were like shooting up morphine and stuff. So I got a little into that. And then in the last month before I left, like that's when I really started getting like super heavy. I got into meth a little bit, which I loved. I
I hated myself. I really did when I was younger. And so like that was like a whole another deep issue. And I still deal with like how I view myself at times. So I have to keep that in check. But like I hated how tall I was. I hated how I sounded.
Dang.
I hated what I looked like. And so like anything like dope, for instance, that I could like be so out of my own brain and like so not me, I loved it.
Okay.
And so like thankfully it wasn't only until the end of my addiction that like I really started getting into that stuff.
Yeah, instead of in the beginning.
Exactly. Because I truly don't think I would still be here if I would have had more grip on that kind of stuff longer than a month or so.
When you went to that facility then, after that first month, how long were you there? A year?
11 months.
11 months?
11 months. So it was a 9-month minimum program. And the crazy thing, dude.
That's crazy.
So like there was a lot of like young people there who were like court ordered and stuff like that. So it's like if they didn't finish the program, they would go to jail. I wasn't in that boat, thankfully. But like they could restart your program if they found out that you were like lying and like faking it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was someone who was supposed to graduate a couple months before I did, or like a month before I did, and he had been like kind of faking it, and it came out, and they restarted him to day one.
Damn.
And he was court ordered, so like it was either that or go to jail.
Well, it almost speaks to your mindset on it too, though, that you weren't court ordered.
Yeah.
You just had some really big events that were changing your outlook. So that's probably why you've been on such a successful trajectory, because you were making the conscious decision without being forced. Because as a kid,
for sure,
if I was 16 and then they told me 9-month minimum, that's like your entire life at 16.
No, for sure.
Like someone tells you 9 months, you're like, that's forever. And like just to work through it. When you came back, did you come back and then you started going back to school, or you were already 18, or what was the...
So I came back and I was like 17 and some change. I had my 17th birthday there. And so I think it was like 17 and a half or so. And I, again, went back and finished school online basically at like a small little place for students who get out of situations like that. And I basically finished, because I didn't do any school the whole year I was there. So I had to like pump out junior and like half of sophomore, junior, and senior year in like 1 year basically, just so I could graduate on time, like when I actually wanted to.
Yeah.
And so it was quite the transition coming back out, because it's like you're in a bubble for so long and you don't even know what's going to happen. It's funny. The first day I got out, I have cousins who live in Atlanta, and they were like, "You want to smoke?" I was like, "No. Of course I don't want to smoke, bro. Get out of here." He's like, "I told you I would." It's funny because when I went in, they were like, "Hey, the day you get out, we'll smoke a fat blunt." I was like, "Okay, sounds good." But like once I was out,
Like that was the motivation.
yeah, funny enough. But like thankfully, I didn't do it then. So,
well, no, it's nice because you had people that like were motivating you without knowing that they were motivating you. Because even them saying you wanted to smoke, you having a moment to say no, that empowers you a ton. For sure. You're like, no, these are my people I would normally smoke with any day.
Yeah. And
I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, it's just, you don't want to waste. I literally just spent almost a year doing all this growth and like truly growing, to throw it all away for like 3 hours of being high.
That's so cool that you had that mindset. Because I just feel like there's so many people that had a similar story that either killed themselves, got killed, went to jail, or just stay in that rut forever.
Bro, it's crazy. I think out of the 20 odd people that I was in the program with, and it's crazy. So we lived in this, it was like on 50 acres it was in Gainesville, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. And like we lived on a Christmas tree farm. And yeah, we were all in this 3-story massive like cabin kind of house.
Interesting.
And out of the 20 people, I know 2 of them unfortunately passed away. And only 2 or 3 others are still like not on drugs. And so it's crazy because, again, like you said, not everyone has like the same mindset of like wanting to continue on in life.
Well, it's tough because like I told you, I was talking about weed or just drinking or any type of drugs or anything, like sometimes that feels like a good identity. Like it feels comfortable that my days are fun to me.
Yeah,
and then you look back and you're like I shouldn't have been driving to high school or even college and smoking lean blunts. And, like when I tell people that, they're like, "Why are you saying it so casually?" And I'm like, "It's just funny. It was terrible." Like, I don't know why I was like sipping lean and headed to my junior class. In the morning. Like, why? What am I doing,
dude?
But you're trying to escape because you think that these feelings feel good. And like when I was young, I just never had a moment of why am I doing it. So to hear you say these things like makes me self-reflect, where I'm like, I had some problems because at the time it's kind of what we do. Me and my friends do it. I play basketball. I work. I'm good. Everything's good, but it's kind of those underlying factors, I guess. Yeah.
What feels good most of the time isn't the right thing you should be doing. That's for sure. Yeah. It's funny you say that. I would go to like school on mushrooms and I'm like, if I tried doing something like that now, I would lose my mind. There's no way I could do that. I'm like, I don't know how I did that when I was like 15. Makes no sense.
I don't know how we'd hotbox the car and then go into class.
Yeah. Oh, I remember teachers would be like, you stink.
Yeah, they would. I'm like, why didn't they just kick me out? But they'd be cool. They'd be like, no, you stink. Go wash your hands. Like, go put some eye drops in. Like, we were so bad, we would put our clothes in the trunk and like have smoke clothes. That's when I knew we were deep in it. Yeah. Me and my friend would sometimes take both lunches. This is high school time. Sometimes we would take both lunches and we would go change clothes, face a blunt apiece, which is crazy to think of smoking like a big old blunt to yourself in the middle of the day as a child.
Stupid.
And then we'd go change back into clothes, go pick up food, then go to the school and still have like 20 minutes because we took both lunches. I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. But at the time it felt right.
No, for sure.
Not until like 25, 26 did I look back and I was like, what a waste. Yeah. Not in like a big negative. Like I don't try to shit on myself for like my past decisions because you try to move forward. But I look back and I'm like, yeah, maybe things could have been different. Yeah. Like maybe, I know stuff's meant to be, but it's interesting.
I always wish like I would have liked and cared about school more than I did.
I did not care.
Like, oh no, not at all. Like my son Duke, again, he'll be 7 here soon, but he's so excited about school. And it's funny because I'm like, why is he so excited? But at the same time, I'm so happy that he's not thinking like I thought. Because even at that, like in first grade, like I hated school already. I didn't want to do it. Now there's days he doesn't want to go, but like he's so smart and he like truly like puts himself into like the learning that they're doing. And I just never did that. And I wish I would have.
No, I think I had a couple years early in elementary where I was really into reading. Because I remember like trying to read, I think it was first or second grade, I tried to read the first Harry Potter book and I just couldn't grasp it. I was trying to read the words and I'm glad I was smart enough to know that I didn't understand it. Like I was trying to read and I was like, I don't get what this paragraph is saying. So I waited like a year, then went back into it. So from like second or third grade until 6th grade were probably like my prime reading years where that's all I did. And maybe it was an escape that helped me kind of lock into school. But then after that, I only ever wanted to go to school for basketball, whether it was junior high, high school, college. I only wanted to go for that. And I never cared enough. Yeah. Except in like, and it's funny now because I'm so like spiritual and things like that, but I only ever liked humanities style classes. Like I didn't like science that much. I didn't like math, but like history, humanities, mindset, I was like, oh, these are interesting. For sure. So school's interesting in itself, but to have your son so locked into it, it's cool to see that full circle. Because you know there's pieces of you and him and you're like, oh, I'm kind of living through him on that. Yeah. Where if he would have seen you, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, and I've been like very honest with him too. I was like, honestly, your dad was very naughty. Like it's funny because he'll ask me, he's like, why are you so naughty in school? I was like, I don't know. I just was. And so I think, I always feel like there's like good power and like, it's funny because I had, my mom was always very honest with me about like things that she did and went through. But then my dad, who is like at one point in life was like, the biggest pot dealer at OU and like things like that, like in the 60s, 70s.
Damn, the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
So it's like he always pretended like he never did anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I always didn't appreciate that. I'm like, listen, I already know your little secrets. So don't like pretend like you're perfect. And so like, I never want Duke to think that like, number one, I'm perfect now, nor was I perfect back then.
That honesty does a lot. Like,
Yeah.
when someone tells you what they've been through, even us talking when I first got here and you're making me coffee and we just instantly go into stuff that you would think we've known each other for 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's just, once you're on that level of thinking, you're in that frequency, that's what you attract. So when we meet each other, it's like, no, let's talk about real stuff, because that just creates such a relationship.
Yeah.
I was never open except to my boys.
Yeah.
But as I went through therapy and like grew and tried to be more mature and just tried to be happier, the more vulnerable I got. And then you got better reception from it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's weird how it works.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, if there is something that I've been through that can actually help and benefit somebody else, like, I think that's, as humans, that's kind of like what we should all hopefully, which it's never going to always happen, but like what we would hopefully want to try and accomplish.
Yeah.
Is helping somebody through what we've already been through.
Well, and you don't know what, because men, women, everyone does it, but speaking for myself, I minimize everything. Like even when I would be going through therapy, they're like, why are you minimizing it so much? Like, we had to do this exercise for one where you're like giving shame back to the people that gave it to you. And you had to like go into like a trance kind of and like close your eyes and, chunk the tissues and like get locked in. And I couldn't do that. Yeah. Like there were people in there that
were trauma therapy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just did some here recently.
Yeah. So there were people that were chunking them. Yeah. Like you could tell that their dad beating them or their mom cussing them out or whatever story, like they would rip it out. And like, I minimized it so much that I was like, no lie. I was like laying my tissues down. I was like, sorry, mom, sorry, dad, sorry, uncle so-and-so. Like, and they're like, why are you doing that? Like, you're so respectful that you can't even do it like in an exercise. So I had to learn to let go a little bit too. Cause I was like minimizing everything, but it makes me think of, you don't know the impact of what you went through for someone else. Like even what you told me today with your friend that got killed, I instantly go back to when my friend got killed. And I'm like, man, like, thank goodness we had a similar mindset shift. And I think when people are closed up, that's when you get that stuff like your dad, where it's like, oh, they think they're perfect, but then you find out something about them and you're like blown away. It's like, we could have just been cool.
Yeah, no, for sure.
With just like all the cards on the table. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. And so I think all that to say, that's where I was like, yeah, I want to help people and I want to love on people. And kind of fast forwarding, when we moved to Hawaii, which was great.
And you met her here?
Yes. Yeah, met here. We just had like mutual friends and stuff like that. And I'm just going to plug how badass my wife is real quick.
Please do.
Again, so she was born with clubfoot, which... she's Hawaiian. A lot of native Hawaiian people deal with clubfoot.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big thing over there. And so she was born with clubfoot. It was fixed, but she's actually missing her left calf muscle. So it's like you would never know unless you're just staring at her calf. It's there, but it's very, very tiny. And so she grew up playing volleyball, playing a bunch of sports. Was like all state at like Santa Fe High School and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Standing volleyball, but she always struggled back and forth of like, she was always a little too disabled for standing, but then also felt like not disabled enough for like sitting volleyball. And so I think when she was 12, that's when she joined the U.S. Paralympic sitting volleyball team.
Dang, that's awesome at 12 years old.
I know, it is crazy.
Holy crap.
So she was like the youngest person on the team at that point. And then she went to her first games when she was 16 in London. And like I said earlier, they won silver there. And then in 2016, they won their first gold in Rio. 2021, their second gold in Tokyo. And then we just got back from Paris and they had the three-peat, which was like huge.
Which I do not know her. Like I've probably only seen her 2 or 3 times in my life. But seeing the happiness was pretty dope.
Oh, dude.
Like seeing the smiles, or like they would do marketing with her involved.
Yeah.
Or honestly, I'm a softie, so the things that would get me is like when you and your son went over there.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd see like a picture she took of you and him sitting at a coffee shop, or you taking one of them two.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's life.
Yeah.
Like that's a cool moment.
Yeah.
To see you getting to support her. And I think you took a video of you looking at the Eiffel Tower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the things we wouldn't have thought were possible back in the day.
I would have never thought that I was going to be in Paris ever for anything.
Bro, I was keeping up with your stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, beer and salami, I'm with that.
Yeah,
like,
no, for sure.
But those are the moments I live for when I travel.
Yeah.
Is like, I tell people when I am on a trip, I'm like, I could stand up at any place I'm at and just yell, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
and they would
sure.
be like, huh?
Yeah.
But it's like, no, like, I'm not supposed to be here at all.
Yeah. No
so
doubt.
to see you all getting to live that, it's just a testament to being positive and kind of pushing through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she gets all of that when she decided to make that shift to the sitting, since you said she always felt like she was on the fence.
Yeah.
I bet that was tough for her to work through too.
Yeah, for sure. Just because, how do I put this? I hope I'm not putting words in her mouth, but
from your perspective.
Yeah, from my perspective, like it even goes with like how she was a Hawaiian girl living in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this unfortunately happens with a lot of different ethnic people everywhere. But it's like you grow up around like all these white kids in Edmond and all this stuff, and you start to like kind of lose sight of who you actually are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been cool getting to see her as she's grown up and got older to like truly reconnect with who she is as not even just like a mom and like a wife, but like as a Hawaiian living in Oklahoma, and how like over the time, and like we lived in Hawaii as well, lived on Oahu for a little bit, to see her reconnect, and like she always loved it, but like fall even more in love with it. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
Just because I've heard so many like different stories of like people feeling like they couldn't be who they actually are. And so like even when it comes to like having a disability, for so long, people with a disability were just seen as like lesser than.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like now you have like the Paralympics that are like bigger than it's ever been before. So it's like all the like airtime that it got on like NBC and stuff this year, huge. Like this is the most it's ever been. Like Tokyo is great, but like, this was like ground shaking, I feel like.
Well, I mean, it was enough. I don't even pay attention to the Olympics like that. Mm-hmm. And I was paying attention to it through you. And then just being aware, I was seeing it from all other channels.
Yeah.
Like YouTube, Instagram. So, I mean, it's a different time where stuff is pushed a little better, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's still a battle though. Honestly, it was just in Tokyo that the Paralympic winners started getting paid as much as the Olympic, the fully able people. Mm-hmm. And so like forever, they got a percentage of the amount of money that like gold medal winners would get for the Olympics and stuff. So it's still a battle. And like, that's why she honestly is such a badass. Like she's literally, she's not even just like the best setter in the world. That's her literal title.
Damn.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Damn.
But she also has like done so much for women in sports. Mm-hmm. Like for a young woman to have children and not just quit their sport because they feel like they have to. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
And so like she's been able to help and be a part of these incredible organizations that are like truly helping change the normal for women who love sport and don't want to give up their sport, but also want to have kids.
Well, yeah, it's like sometimes the world would want you to pick one.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're a mom now.
Yes.
It's like, oh, but the dad can do 2 or 3 things. It's like,
so,
no,
yeah,
we should all be able to explore. Like, I think hobbies, and that's not a hobby because she's a killer at it, but I'm using that word. Like, those activities are what make life worth living, whether it's coffee, whether it's reading books, whether it's anime, whatever it is. Those are the things that make life worth it. For like sure. The things you like to do. So the fact that she is able to find purpose, not only for herself, but for women and for anybody with any type of disability, it's just like the trauma. It goes deeper than you think.
Yeah.
And she's just being herself.
No, exactly. Well, it's so cool. I think maybe like last thing on it is like the more like over the past years she's talked about her disability and like shared more on it, like she is just flooded with like DMs of people and like comments of people of, like, I have clubfoot too. Like they're stoked. Not that they have clubfoot, but like they're like, oh my God, there's someone else out there with like the same thing that I have or had that is like doing all of this. And again, it's just like for so long, I feel like if you had a disability, the world would like paint this picture of like, well, not even maybe that you're lesser than, but like that you're, what's the right words? I mean, maybe that there's a lid on you.
Yeah, like a cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can only go this far.
Yeah, exactly.
To lighten the mood in a funny way, because I have these crazy stories, and I don't know if it's appropriate, but
perfect.
When we were in high school, there was like, and this isn't disabilities. This is like more like the special education side. So not clubfoot, but people with mental handicaps. And there was one kid in there that, it sounds so messed up to say, that we just felt wasn't that slow. And one time, and it happened multiple times, we'd be walking by the gym when they'd be having their PE class, and he would be like LeBron out there hooping.
Heck yeah.
And we're like, hold on.
Yeah.
Like, and then what's funny to like full circle it, when we started going to clubs as adults, we would see him out in public and we're like, oh, we were right. But it's just so funny that, like people can be capable of so much. We're like, look, he has all these learning disabilities, but he's a dope ass dude.
Yeah.
And he's an athlete. Yeah. You don't like think they go together.
Dude, it's so weird how like, it's not even like I don't even feel like people are raised to think like that, but like innately for some reason, us as humans, it's like, we're not good people. Like honestly, humans aren't great people most of the time.
Yep.
It's like the negative aspects of being a human so easily come out, but it's like, that's why you actually have to like make a point to change your perspective.
For sure.
It's crazy.
Man, when you were in Paris, what was your favorite part, you think? I know watching her, but something different.
Man, there was a day that me and my youngest, because my oldest son, he went out there with my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law like a week before. And then me and my youngest son, Kai, we went out there together. And so we were just cruising, just me and him for a couple of days when we got there, just acclimating and stuff. And there was this one day, we just woke up and we were about 5 miles away from like the Eiffel Tower and like the Arc de Triomphe and stuff like that. And so we just went cruising like really hard. I just put him in the stroller and again, he's 2. So he's like blah, 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 talking and like wanting to see everything and get out and run around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, man, we walked like 10 to 15 miles or something like that day. Like all the way to the Eiffel Tower, hit all these cool shops, like found all these sick like anime and manga shops and stuff like that. Ate a bunch of good food and like hit coffee shops on the way too. But like, I think that full day of just like, cause it's funny, cause it's like, I didn't talk to anyone that whole day. I feel like
no, just your 2-year-old.
I talked to my 2-year-old and I just looked around and I got to like see again, it's something cool about being around architecture that's like hundreds, if not like, I think thousands of years old. And comparatively to being in Oklahoma, where it's like, Bricktown was built in 1901 or something like that.
And that's like as old as it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw a church in Scotland and it said 1134. And I was like, what?
It's crazy. Dude, we went to this, we got to go to this restaurant that was like built in the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
And so at first it was a horse stable, and then it was like a brothel, and then it was something else. And I think in like the 70s or 80s, I believe they said they redid it to like the first restaurant. It's been a couple of different concepts from there, but it's just like it was underground.
Oh, nice.
And so to be surrounded by like, it's funny, it sounds funny, but like these rock walls from the 1600s.
Yeah,
it
you can feel it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Man, well then dialing it back, because I was excited to talk to you about Paris, but I'm super infatuated with, since you weren't a coffee guy, how you kind of got into that. And I know that's not your full identity, but that's where I know you from.
No, for sure. I mean, it's a big part of it now. I feel like I fully accepted that now, that like I'm a coffee guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what we know you of.
Yeah. And so, I always loved coffee. I think like when I was a youth pastor, I got the opportunity to travel a good amount with some people and go to different states and try honestly some of like the best coffee shops around the United States. And I think I just fell in love with coffee. But like my first real like understanding and like love of coffee came from when I went to a shop in St. Louis called Sump Coffee, SUMP.
Okay.
They're still around, still one of my favorites. But I had an espresso there for the first time because I think before that I drink Starbucks and stuff like that.
And black coffee or
just
cappuccinos.
Yeah. And so like I had an espresso there and I had no idea that these kind of flavors could come from something like that.
Yeah.
And so like that's where it really, my love and want to drink coffee really started. And I was probably like 18 at that time. I drank coffee, just like regular black coffee, and since I was about 11 or 12 though, like at home. Yeah. So I always drank coffee, but my love for it started then. And then again, like I said, I was a youth pastor for a long time. Once we moved back from Hawaii in like late 2019, right before the pandemic, we were like me and my
so
wife.
you just got back here.
Yeah.
That's not that long ago.
No, it's crazy.
Wow. Okay.
So like me and my wife, we were in like desperate need of like a new community. And we knew we wanted to do something different. And she was a baker. So she had like her own cookie decorating business.
Did she bake the goods there?
Yes. Yeah. So those are all her.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, they're so
because scones, man, in Oklahoma, like you get a lot of hard scones.
Hard, dry. Yeah.
Those were like legit scones.
Dude,
the blueberry ones with the drizzle.
Yep. Yeah. And so like her love for baking and like my love for coffee, because we were in ministry for so long, which it was all encompassing, we never had like the true opportunity to like dive deep into it. But moving back, knowing we weren't going to go back into ministry right then and there, we were like, well, maybe this is a time to open up a shop. And so there was someone who was then our business partner that my wife had worked with when she was in high school. Like she'd done flowers and stuff like that in the past. And so we kind of hooked up with her and we're like basically, do you guys want to start a shop? And that's where like the concept for flower began. And so again, it was like I was the coffee aspect, Cleo was the baked goods, and then our partner was the florals and gifts aspect of two.
And that girl with the hazel colored eyes?
No, that was the manager.
Okay.
She was an awesome.
Yeah, I see her around at other shops. She's cool.
So kind. She's so awesome. That's Katie. But no, she wasn't our partner. Our partner, like, cause she also owned like her own big floral business that's been around for like, I think like 15 plus years. So like, she was always out doing
So you got a good partner to.
Yeah, for sure. And so, we started there and, that's when I like really dialed in and began to learn more about like third wave coffee and how to actually produce it.
What's third wave mean?
Third wave is going to be like, more craft.
Okay.
So like craft coffee would be considered a third wave.
Okay.
So it's like the process, it's like Starbucks, for instance, would be considered like second wave coffee. So it's like not as much care into the product. Obviously Starbucks would say that is, but it's not. It's just burnt beans.
Yeah, so and all their beans are oily from over roasting them and stuff. It's insane.
It's disgusting. But I will say I did work at Starbucks for 2 years. That was my first coffee job. Because honestly, it's not easy to get a job as like a barista with no experience at a shop you actually want to work at.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it's like, it's funny. People like to get so upset with baristas with how they're working or how they're doing things. But it's like, it's kind of like a random person trying to correct an electrician as to how they should be doing their job. And maybe that's like a big comparison, but like, because obviously you could die if you were doing your electric job wrong. But like what I mean by that is it's a craft. It's a trade. It's not something.
It's a style.
Yeah. It's not something that like maybe anyone can learn it, but you have to be willing to learn it.
Yeah.
At Starbucks, anyone can do it for sure. Everything's
well, and you're happy when you get a good shot. Well, I'm an espresso guy.
Yeah.
So when I get a good espresso, I like that person that pulled it.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think you're that picky, but I am.
Yeah.
Like I go to a shop and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to ask for this because I know it's him this time.
Yeah, no, for sure. That happens more than people realize. But yeah, making coffee isn't just making coffee. It's a fully encompassing thing. You're not just like physically drained after your shift, but you're like emotionally and like mentally drained because you're not just making coffee, you're dealing with people as well.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Most people don't.
No, seriously, I probably take it for granted because everyone I've met in coffee shops, since I'm so interested in it, I get like the best versions of them. For sure. So I don't ever think of the negative.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, you like coffee? I got something for you. Let me show you this.
Dude, people are crazy. Honestly, like here kind of recently in the past year, at the place I was just recently at, had a customer who like, it's like, if you come in and we decide to hook you up with something for free, it's like, don't continue coming back and expecting that. Like, you're not that cool. You're not that important, honestly.
Yeah.
And he was like so mad that like we were charging him for a side of topo with his espresso. And one of my guys who was ringing him up, he was like, I'm sorry, like, man, I have to charge you for this. Like, this is just kind of what the actual price is. And the dude reached over and like grabbed his head and was like, what's okay, buddy? Like really condescendingly.
Whoa.
Bro.
That's aggressive.
Yes. It was not okay.
No.
So I deal with that eventually as well. But it's just like, man, people, and it's a service industry issue, unfortunately. People see it as like, oh, well, they're here to serve me. And if they don't serve me to the fullest extent, then like, I'm going to let them know. Like, I'm going to do something about it. It's like, in what other trade do you do that?
That's true. Cause I also find myself where cause I do get hooked up a lot, being honest. When I don't get upset, but it happens. I'm like, oh, dang, that's different. But I can't be upset about it.
No, exactly.
Cause like there was a time, at the last place you were at, you're like, you like that ube syrup? And I was like, yeah. You're like, all right, hold on. And you gave me like a cup of it. And I made ube lattes at my house for like 5 days. Yeah. But I didn't come in a week later like, hey, can you give me more of that ube syrup?
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly.
But then sometimes you get something. Like I was at Willow. I like Willow.
Yeah.
They're nice.
They're incredible.
And when the owners are there, sometimes I can get like something else. Like he'll be like, hey, I think I got something you can try. And I'm like, okay, don't even tell me what it is. Yeah. And then he'll bring me something. But if I come in and they're slammed and he's there, he's like, hey, I just got to pull you regular. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah. No,
like, it's okay. I appreciate you for just even having to say that.
Yeah.
But it is funny how that happens because I can definitely see how that could be a problem. I have a good relationship with the people at Tobby too.
Oh, okay, cool.
I really like going there. It's across the street from where Tomorrow was. And even there's like times you get hooked up and then times you don't, but you don't get mad that you didn't get hooked up.
No,
it almost makes it better when you do.
Yeah.
Like, no, take that espresso today. That's for you. You've been here for 2 weeks. It's like, oh, nice.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, it just sucks because it's like, it takes the opportunity as a barista, to be like over and above away. And like, that sucks. Cause it's like one of the things I always like to, and honestly, like maybe we can talk even more about like managing and raising up people, not even just baristas, but like good people in service industry. Because I'm honestly really passionate about that.
Dive into it. That's fine.
But okay, actually, real quick.
Yeah, do what you need to do.
Can I pee?
Oh, of course. Let's pause it.
Yeah, sorry. I like have to go so bad.
No, I want you to focus. Like, how long does that process take? I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say about like starting a small business in general. I feel like it either happens later than you want it to or quicker than you want it to.
Okay.
So for instance, our initial plan, because this was like in January of like, or December of 2019, January of 2020, we're like, okay, cool. Yeah. Let's plan to do this. And at that time, before the pandemic actually happened, we were like, okay, cool. So Cleo's about to go to the Paralympics in that August, September of 2020. And our plan was to like, hopefully they win gold and hopefully we'll have some money to personally invest into the business. Okay. So we don't have to go for a loan and stuff like that. Yeah. And our whole thought process too was like starting with bare minimum kind of everything and going forward from there. So our business partner, she was like, okay, cool. Like I found this spot that I think would be perfect in Deep Deuce. She was like, I'm going to go ahead and like sign a lease on it. Cause again, we didn't plan on even starting it for like another 9 months to a year. So like, let's go ahead. Like I'm going to go in here and like move my floral business into it as like a big office space kind of situation, like processing flowers for weddings and whatnot.
Yep.
And then a month later, the pandemic started and the lockdown happened, and all of her weddings canceled basically. Damn. So like zero income. She already signed the lease, things like that. And we're just not the kind of people to be like, oh, well, that sucks. You better figure it out, sis. So we were just like, well, I guess we're going to start trying to open a shop now. And so during the pandemic, we started going in and doing some remodeling in the shop. At first, I think we were like, well, yeah, let's try and open, which is so funny. We were like, yeah, we should open in May of 2020 or like June of 2020, like in the heat of the pandemic. And so we were like, all right, let's try and go for this. April, May came around, like we were still figuring things out. We're like, okay, well, maybe July. Like let's hit for like the end of July.
Okay.
And then like mid-June came around and like still wasn't fully happening yet. Like I'm trying to remember. I don't think we even had a loan at that point. Because again, we're like at that point like dipping into our savings like that we've had for years and like trying to make something out of nothing. But also like because we're like we don't want our partner to like carry the full financial burden of like the rent for that spot. Like we were always trying to do what we could in that sense to help out too, until the shop was going to open. And then like fast forward, I swear like every single month we pushed it back. Eventually we got a loan. We got equipment in. We figured it out. And again, given we had never done this before, so we were just like figuring it out as we were going. And thank God my wife is so smart. Like she's a badass, like I said. And so like she was figuring so much stuff out too, as we were doing like renovations and stuff inside. And we did like mostly all the renovations ourselves and stuff. Okay. And like thankfully, like I had never like built a bar and stuff like that. So our partner's dad, he was like very, very like he just does construction and stuff like that.
So it was easy to him to do it.
Yeah. So I was able to help him build it and stuff like that too. And so eventually we like locked down like, okay, October, that's when we're going to do it.
Okay.
And still it's like in the heat of like
it didn't start getting a little better till 2021.
Yeah, exactly. And so we had a launch date, which was October 26th. And is that the day we actually opened? Yeah, October 26th. And then
when you started, it's just you and your wife?
Yeah, just me and my wife. Well, we had two employees. One of like our good homies, she would come in and like help open every once in a while. And then my other friend, Brandon, who we had known each other for years, and he had been in specialty coffee longer than I had. So he actually helped teach me a lot of like how to properly like steam milk and stuff like that too. Yeah. So it was cool. Like, and it's crazy. This is like 2 weeks before actually opening. Like,
and you're learning how to do
like,
you're like, okay.
Dude, it's crazy. I look back at pictures. I'm like, ew, that's just. I was serving this to people. The people were stoked. I mean, not that like it didn't taste good. It just didn't look pretty. And so
I loved it.
Yeah, eventually we got to where we needed to go. It just needed about 6 months or so. But we opened, and the week of opening, we got hit with this crazy ice storm.
Oh, dang. I do remember. That's when it was 0 degrees. For
yeah, bro.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. Like the first day, just pellets, just ice everywhere. But like that first week was insane.
Oh, like, with people coming in?
Yes.
Well, I wanted to say that about it is, like, one time we were in Arkansas hiking, and I was like, man, I want an espresso. Where can I go? And we stumbled into Onyx without knowing what Onyx was. Oh, that's like, so we just looked up and was like, 5 stars. Oh, we'll go there.
Yeah.
They have good vegan food. Like, I'm not vegan, but we like to dabble.
Yeah.
And they had some great vegan tacos, and the espresso was good. And I was like, why is this place so nice? Like,
yeah.
Are they famous or something? And I look them up. I'm like, oh, they're the shit. And then Flower and Flower had that type of energy where it was like, I don't know if this is the right word. It's not boutique because that seems like super fancy, but that type of energy. Like, it was classy. It was
just specialty
high level. Yeah, specialty, high level. It was pretty place, modern, simple, good stuff. So it's just, it stood out. So I'm not surprised you said you were busy. Like, it was unique.
Yeah. And again, like our whole thing, like I said, like when we moved back from Hawaii, we were in such like need of like a new community. We built a community.
Really? Yeah.
And
you
so,
really did.
and it's cool. Like, and I honestly hate talking about myself sometimes.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good.
I really do.
I get it.
And
But just from me to you, and this is the longest conversation we've ever had. You're a special soul. I can already see that. And I gravitate to people like yourself that have hit all those hills and valleys. So the power that you have is unique. Everyone's got a superpower. Like your connectivity and understanding is speaking through you without even needing it. So like, if you ever have any doubts on one to talk about yourself, like you do have stuff to give, and you're giving stuff to me right now.
Thank you. That means a lot. Honestly.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so I'm trying to remember. You were so kind. I'm trying to remember where I was going with that.
It made you blush.
Yeah, no, made me blush. My face is all red.
We were talking about like that first week being so busy.
Yes.
And then rolling into it.
Yeah, the community aspect.
Yeah, the community aspect.
So again, we were in crucial need of a new community because honestly, ours kind of fell apart. And I won't go into it here, but like again, like I said, I was a youth pastor for a long time. Our time in Hawaii was incredible. It was very healing for us. But the church we were part of here, horrible stuff happened, and it was really hard, and it hurt us very, very deeply. And so we lost all of that. And so coming back, that's why we were so in great need of it. And so we're like, let's just build it ourselves.
And that community grew so fast, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because it's like, and I don't want to talk crap too much on like just owners in general, but like,
no, but this is honestly the space for it.
Yeah. Honestly, there are so many owners of businesses who do not, like, and I repeat, do not steward their people correctly.
You know, what do you mean? Because I know you said building people up and things.
Yeah, they look at the business as just like the business, the functionality is the most important aspect. But in all reality, the people that you have working and being a part of this community is truly the most important aspect.
Yeah.
I'm like, honestly, it's like, yeah, maybe I have like my superpower and Cleo has hers too, but it's like, I think that Flower & Flower was so successful because of the people that we hired, because of the people that would come in, like they are who made it successful.
Yeah, you gravitate to the right type of people coming in as clients or workers.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, but there are a lot of people who own businesses that are like, well, I don't have time for this. And it's like, well, why did you start a business? It's like, this isn't a corporation. This isn't Target. This is a small business with people who, again, they don't really think about how big of a deal it is, but like who are entrusting their well-being to you.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I think for us, me and Cleo, we just from the beginning, we understood that weight and like, for lack of better terms, like the mantle that was like given to us in the sense of like the opportunity to either help make people better and people's lives better or make them worse. And I think it's so cool because like even since then, so much of the staff that we had throughout the years at Flower have like followed me to different places. And it's
I'm not surprised.
Well, they're funny because they're like even now it's like, and we can talk about it here in a little bit too, but like I'm helping start a new shop in the Asian district, and like I have like multiple of them are like when's it happening? Like I want to be part of it. I want to do it. And it's funny because like I can belittle that so easily, like in my own head, but
it's
like
actually massive.
Yeah, and it's like a really big deal, and like that's something that I never want to take for granted. I never want to be like make myself this great person to where it's like, oh yeah, well they'll always want to come, they'll always want to be a part of this. Like no, the reason that's happened is because we've intentionally built these people up. Like,
well, it makes me think. I went to the new sushi place in Wheeler District.
Oh, nice.
It's nice if you want to go.
No, yeah,
it's actually legit. So yeah. I'm not like an expert foodie, but I know when it's not good, and that's good. It was really good. Anaki or Anakai.
I can't remember what the name is too. Yeah.
But when I was walking out, I saw a friend from high school, and we don't talk very often, but his name's Barrett. He's going to be on the pod too. But
Nice.
he was saying, this man just inspires me so much. And then I'm like you, where I want to be like, oh, stop.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to realize that, like, they're not bullshitting you.
Mm-hmm.
Like him saying, no, this guy inspires me. Like, he does all this in real estate, and now he's got a podcast, and he's always been a good guy to me. Like, you hear that and you start like wanting it off you. Mm-hmm. But I think something we have in common is we have to realize to accept that. And it's hard because you don't want it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want it. You're like, stop.
Yeah.
But you're busting your ass every day to get it.
Yeah.
So it's a weird balancing act. But I am interested in how you build the people up, because even in my line of business, it's all about relationships. So like, how do you build those folks up to be part of the culture?
Yeah. So it was never about like, hey, we're building this family.
Yeah, right.
Like, that doesn't always like come with good like repercussions or terms for a lot of people. It's like family kind of sucked for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And not everyone has like had the healing that we would hope they would have when it comes to family and the things they've been through. So it's like, we never wanted to create anything revolving around that word. But like for us, and I think it really did go back to us being youth pastors, because it's like, you're dealing with young people. They know when you're fake. They know if you're full of shit. If you're just like, hey dude, cool shoes, or like, dude, that's a sick t-shirt. They're just like,
why are you even bringing that up?
Bro, especially kids like on the east side and stuff like that. For like I said, like I was just the tall, like skater kid with long hair, like white dude going to Douglas High School and like just wanting to actually have a real connection with these kids.
Well, you had to. You couldn't be like, well, yeah, I've got a black friend.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, you can't do that.
No,
like, it has
sure.
to be so organic. It has to be real. And that comes from your energy.
Yeah.
Not just your words. It's like how you act.
Yeah. Well, also, how you act, and like you prove yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to prove yourself. Yeah. And so even with like our staff that we've in any season of life have had, or like even like friends in general, it's like, and again, that's why I say it goes back to me being a youth pastor, because like I was always looking for opportunities to prove myself. Yeah. And again, I don't mean of like just like kissing people's asses and hope that they like me, but like I'm trying to think of like a good example.
It makes me think of, when I think of proving myself, it's like kind of like not proving your worth to them, kind of proving it to yourself. And in turn, it turns to that, because you know how hard of work you're putting in and how much that stuff means to you to be there for those younger people, or be there for your staff, or be there for your community. That I think it's like a positive validation for yourself too. You think it's for these people, but it's more for you. And that's what I've noticed, at least. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Like I thought of a good example. There was a young dude, who called him Big Sean, just big. Like when I first met him, just big, goofy white kid, like kind of like truly a big boy, and, goofy glasses, like the boy thought he was black for sure. And
this was one of your students?
Yeah, this is one of my students. And he was just this goofy kid for so long. But he started coming to youth and stuff. So like I would go pick him up on Wednesdays and like take him home. We would always go get McDonald's and stuff afterwards. And we would just spend time together. And like as the years progressed, he would do better. Like let me say this. I met him at the same school that I went to, because I continued doing some work there for like kids who get out of rehab and stuff. And so I met him there. So I knew he had passed in the sense of drugs. And there would be seasons where he did great as he was getting older. But then there was also seasons where he started dabbling in even worse stuff. So like,
was he transparent with that stuff about you, or could you just tell?
No, I mean, both, for sure. Both. And so
you can't hide it from someone that's been in the life.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so like, every single week I'd pick him up and he'd tell me these crazy stories. And my first thing wasn't like, oh my, Sean, hey, like that's not okay. Like that's not, Jesus wouldn't.
It's not
do that.
funny.
Like,
but
no, for sure. I mean, it's true, because like, especially like funny enough in like youth ministry world, or just working with young people, like people immediately think they need to react like a parent. My job was never to be someone's parent. My job was to be, at that time, a representation of truly who Jesus is. which was not this judgmental, not this like overbearing person, but like truly someone who will like shut up and just listen,
More of an
and
understanding.
be there for you. And so like that was my goal, what I wanted. And so over the years, like he lost all this weight, got into heroin, then he got off of it, and then he went to jail, and then he got out and he do good. And it was like a cycle. Like then he got on meth, then, and this was still, he was a student, and he would go to jail and get out and do better. But like every single time, and like honestly, there were like 6-month stints where I couldn't get hold of him. I couldn't hear from him. But then randomly on like a Wednesday night or a Sunday morning, like guess who I'd see walking with this big ass goofy smile? Big Sean out of nowhere. I'm like, bro, I haven't talked to you in 8 months. Where have you been? He's like, bro, I've been locked up, blah, blah, blah. And then this one time he comes up and he's got this big old Bentley tattoo on his neck. I'm like, bro, that's a blood tattoo. He's like, no, bro, it's Bentley. I'm like, shut up, dude. But like, it's crazy because I share all that to say like, because of the intentionality that I took with him, no matter what season of life he was in, he always knew that like I was going to be someone that he could feel love from when he didn't have any love anywhere else.
Yeah, a little bit of consistency.
Exactly.
And where he can be himself.
Exactly.
You don't
And
have
so
to be
like
a certain person.
even fast forwarding to Flower and Flower and where we are today, I always wanted to take that approach. And I always wanted to look for those opportunities. It's like if someone is just having a hard day or someone is like just passed away in their family, it's like I want to hopefully be an ear for them. It's not even about like I'm doing all the things for you, I'm taking over your shifts because this and that, but it's like I'm going to sit down and I'm not going to give advice. I'm going to listen, and I'm going to prove to you that I am someone worthy of your trust. And that was like honestly for me always the biggest thing. And like I can't speak for everyone, but like 99% of the staff that we've had, I'd guarantee that they would say that me and Kaleo have been able to be that for them in different seasons in life. And that's so cool. And like, that's what we've always wanted as like being business owners. We didn't do it to like make all this money. We did it to like help other people and to like create this incredible, like consistent, like you said, culture and consistent community.
I mean, it's so needed because anyone I've ever talked to about you, whether it was people at one of your coffee shops or someone that like Andrew, your cousin, they're just like, no, he's the coolest. Like he's great. And I mean that genuinely, like he's so nice, or it's when you hear how other people talk about you, it's a good interpretation, especially when you're just being yourself.
Yeah.
Cause it's not like they're like, yeah, he's awesome. And then I meet you and you're like, yeah, I'm awesome, huh? It's like, no, you're almost like,
there's people like that.
No, true. But you're more like even, which I really respect. Like even at Flower and Flower one time, you're like, hey, we got this specialty. And it's like, it was like a matcha parfait.
Oh yeah. The chia seed matcha pudding. Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But when you brought it to us, even though we didn't see you like when we were ordering it, you just were probably helping. You brought it out to us, but even just your energy of setting it down and, hey, please enjoy that. It looks nice. And those moments, like I remember that. And that's just a regular moment to you, which is fine. That's how everything happens. But like, I remember that. I'm like, no, he like brought this elegant piece of dessert and then, well, it's probably like not dessert.
It felt like breakfast dish, whatever.
And sat it down like as such a offering. And that may seem like something little to most people because you're just handing them something, but you can feel someone's energy.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way.
Oh, dude, it's huge. Like, I don't think there's anything more impersonal than being like, I got a latte. You got an iced latte at the bar? Hello. And then like the barista gets all pissed off because you don't even know the person's name. You didn't call the name out. And you're just saying a iced latte, which probably 3 different people probably just ordered that same exact drink. But it's like it's funny. Like one of my dreams, honestly, is to be a part of like one of the first Michelin star coffee shops. And like what makes a difference?
That would be amazing.
Yeah. What makes a difference in like a Michelin star restaurant versus a regular one? Let me just say this. Like, so we got the opportunity to go to a 1-star Michelin star restaurant in Paris.
Okay.
the one I was telling you about, the old one, the 1600.
More stars is better?
Yes.
Okay.
Which it's just different from my understanding, because we were asking, like, what's the difference between like 1 star to 5? I think it goes to 5 stars, or is it 3? I can't remember. I'm like, what's the difference? And 1 star is more personal, more like interactive, and more like talking with like your waiter or waitress and stuff like that, and learning more about the chef. And so like they were sitting down, and it was really cool how they did it, because like most places will tell you what you're eating before you eat it. But they, let me just start from here. So we were served like appetizers, and each appetizer had some aspect of each dish that we were about to have throughout the course in it. Nice. So we had all the flavors, and we were told everything that was in it. But then each course they would bring it out, we would try it and try to discover what we were tasting, discover what they were using, how they did it. And he would come back after we finished and just sit down right next to us and be like, okay, so what were you tasting? What would you get? Like, and so we had a discussion about it. And so it's like the excellence, not just in like the food, but the excellence in how people are treated. Is a massive, massive thing.
Because that goes a long way. I'm taking it back to coffee, but when you're serving, you know, the wood piece with the espresso and the sparkling, like there's a feeling of that, even though it's the same as if you just handed me 2 cups.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like it's the same object, but it's different. Or like you see a little piece of dark chocolate on there.
Yeah.
Or someone tells you like you're tasting this, or I don't know. I get what you mean. It's another level.
Yeah. Or even like, again, literally as simple as the fact of like taking the drink to the person.
Oh yeah. You would set it on the table and it's like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It's like, cause people don't expect that, but it's like, listen, if we're providing a service, then like let's excellently provide a service. And like that goes
the details.
And like honestly, it's like even with the staff, I would always tell them, it's like, yeah, I know it can be like inconvenient, and there are definitely times where I told them, I was like, listen, I'm not expecting you to do this every single time. Like if it is slammed and there's like just you behind the bar, or like 2 people behind the bar and there's a line out the door, then yeah, most likely you don't have the opportunity to actually, my tummy's grumbling.
It's about that time.
Yeah, to actually like walk it to them. But it's like, don't just call them drink out. Use their name kind of situation. So it's like, how can we be the best of what we're doing no matter what's happening?
I agree.
Yeah.
So with that restaurant, what aspects did you take from that if you were going to open like the Michelin star coffee? Are there no Michelin star coffee shops? I
don't think it's on like the Michelin guide yet. I think there's.
If you were the first, that would be fucking amazing.
That'd be crazy.
I would love that.
Yeah, no,
we're gonna speak it into existence.
I know, for real. Yeah, honestly, I've spent like I feel like the past year on and off just kind of thinking about what that would look like, and it would definitely be something unlike I feel like we've seen here in the city, because I feel like a lot of stuff goes back to like price point and getting a city ready for something like that. But I feel like one of the biggest things would be just taking people through a journey. Honestly, like I think one of the coolest things I ever did was I did like this all senses dinner here in the city with
Where at?
Chef Eric, I believe his name was. It was my friend Talon. Shout out to Talon. He owns Sage Wellness off of Western.
Nice. Okay.
But he invited me to this dinner that he had a couple friends at. And Chef Eric, who owns The Crown, I believe, OKC, he did this all senses dinner where he paired smell, music, the food, and the drink, and something visually as well, obviously the food, with every single thing that he served.
Yeah.
And like that experience like really inspired me. I was like, how can we take like coffee to the next level in this sense? Because honestly, that's something I've always loved about like being in coffee. It's like, okay, how can we take coffee and help people view it differently? Like, how can we make them view it? Because like I will say, like one of the best things Starbucks ever did was like get people to pay more than $1 for a cup of coffee, because they began to show people like, oh, hey, actually, it's not just black coffee. It's not just an espresso that you can get. Like you can actually create things with it. Yeah. Which again, the specials and stuff are fun. I always enjoy doing that stuff, but I always love to push the boundaries of what goes with coffee. Yeah. Because that's the best thing about food it's like at these Michelin star restaurants, you wouldn't think like you're going to use the cucumber water and create this like foam with it, and like that it's going to taste good and go with a dish.
Well, I went to a dinner in Scotland and it was courses, but something that always stands out to me and it's so simple is they did a lamb, a piece of lamb, but like charbroiled, but it was cut like a perfect rectangle.
Oh, nice.
And then they served it with a broth in a small like cup like this, like espresso cup.
Yeah.
So you bite the lamb and you drink the broth. And that's something so simple, but it's hitting so many senses.
It's crazy. And also I think that's the funny thing too about like people and their perception of coffee is like people see like these cool specials, these fun specials, but like they don't realize the reality of like the ass that's being busted behind the scenes to create these. And they're not always perfected. We like to think they're always perfected, because sometimes you create something that's a flop and you just got to move forward and do something different. But like, and that's just business and life, but like people don't realize like how much mentally and physically and financially go into creating something new and like beautiful and like interesting to people. Because it's like you can't just create something, and I will say like something I think too many people do is like create things only they would like. If you're creating things only you would like, then you're putting a cap on yourself. You're putting a cap on your business and like how many people that item or your business can actually reach.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
So you truly have to think like, okay, so grapefruit. Not everyone likes grapefruit. It's very bitter. It's this and that. But I think it's something that could complement a citrus forward drink. So how can we take the flavor of grapefruit and like take this bitter, like puckery, what